what are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do.
Breaking overnight, Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor who handled the Jeffrey Epstein case back in 2019, and the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, fired from her job. Her firing comes as the Jeffrey Epstein, whatever you want to call it now, saga continues to unravel. And also with President Trump offering his newest approach to try to make it go away, which is blame the Democrats. The president now saying that the outrage around it all is a hoax and not on him.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters, and Comey before him.
CNN's Paula Reed here with us for more on this. Okay, so let's start with the firing of Maureen Comey. What are you learning about this?
So a person familiar with the situation tells CNN that it has become, quote, untenable for her to continue to work at the Justice Department because her father, James Comey, is constantly going after the administration. Now, you may remember that Comey is under investigation for possible false statements to Congress. He was separately questioned in May by the Secret Service after he posted a photo on social media showing seashells on a beach that spelled out 8647, which he has denied was a call for violence against the president. But we know since he was fired by Trump in his first term, he's been a very outspoken critic of the Trump administration. And this all happens, though, as there is pressure on the administration to release more information related to the Epstein investigation and criminal case. We know Maureen Comey was a lead prosecutor in the Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution. She also worked on the Sean Diddy Combs case. But what's unclear right now is if she is being fired in any way connected to the Epstein controversy, or if this really is about her father, because we have seen a series of firings at the Justice Department of people that this administration does not believe align with their priorities. For example, people who worked on the cases against now President Trump, people who even communicated on behalf of the people who prosecuted those cases, in addition to other people that they believe and just were not aligned with the president's agenda. So that's, I think, what we'll be watching to see play out. Is this an attempt to pin blame on James Comey or the Comey family for Epstein, or is this just another purge of someone that they do not believe aligns with this administration?
Yeah. Are they trying to bank new reasons and other people to blame for as this Jeffrey Epstein saga continues to unfold? There's a lot going on here. Paula, thank you so much. John?
All right, with us now, our political commentators, Maria Cardona and Scott Jennings. And I want to play you both something that happened last night on stage at the ESPYs. Shane Gillis, who is, not a liberal comedian, is someone seen as a more conservative comedian. Listen to what he was joking about on the stage.
Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore that.
So Shane Gillis, Scott, is joking about this on stage at the ESPYs. How successful has the White House been at moving on from this?
Well, not, obviously. I mean, we're still talking about it. The country's talking about it, and it seems to be continuing on. I mean, look, it's hard to know what they can do because I don't know what they have. I don't know what's in the documents that they have. But my political advice would simply be just make a decision, a definitive end to this. We can do nothing, we can do everything, we can do something in the middle. Whatever you decide that you can do, just do it and make that the end of it. Otherwise, you're going to have people that are continue to perpetrate it. I understand why the president is frustrated. He's having an amazing 6 months, and now this is all anybody wants to talk about. But the way to end something is to end it.
It's possible he's got a role in making this story linger on, because I want to listen to an interview that he did last night, and he seems to be calling for a new FBI investigation into, I guess, the FBI investigation. Listen.
What are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do.
You're looking for, move on. That's not going to work. And everything that he does actually works to gin up his base even more, because here's the problem. Democrats did not come up with this. Democrats did not make this up. He is the one who ran on this. His campaign ran on this. They promised his MAGA base that as soon as they got to the White House, they were going to release the Epstein files. Pam Bondi said, "It is on my desk. You're going to get this immediately. Breaking news, possibly tomorrow," was one of the interviews that she did on Fox. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing to see here. I mean, it's incredibly suspicious. It's not coming from the Democrats. It's all coming from inside the House. And every time that he tries to make people move on, and now he's insulting his base, to me just reeks of desperation, because maybe they're worried about what's actually in the Epstein file. So I actually agree with Scott. They need to make a decision and either do it or not do it, but then they need to explain why they're not doing it. And Donald Trump is not just someone who is good at actually understanding what's going on, trying to get over it if that's what needs to happen, and then explaining why he's doing something or not.
Just very quickly, Donald Trump didn't exactly run on it. He was asked about it a couple times, and he said, yeah, I guess they should be released. It was people like J.D. Vance and certainly a lot of other supporters, firm supporters of President Trump, who were out there much more actively calling for the files to be released, but certainly people within that orbit. And the second thing, the Star Wars quote, you definitely earn the respect of both the 50-something-year-old men standing at this desk right now. Both Scott and I were like, aha, well done with that. Scott, I'm going to move on from Epstein in just one second, but what about antagonizing the base? What about calling them weak? The likes of Michael Flynn are responding. I mean, there is no fiercer supporter of Donald Trump than General Michael Flynn. And Michael Flynn is now saying the Epstein affair is not about who killed him or if he committed suicide personally. I'm glad this pedophile is dead, but neither is this a hoax. I mean, Trump is calling it a hoax. Michael Flynn saying, Yeah,
look, there are a lot of people who supported him who have believed for a very long time that there's a story to be told here about powerful people, elites getting away with something, two-tiered system of justice, right? Why do some people get away with things? Why? This is a recurring theme. And so you understand the passion and the emotion for it because it has been talked about for a long time. Not necessarily by, as you pointed out, Donald Trump, but a lot of people in his orbit. I will say, I've heard him say this week, if you have something credible, sure, let's go ahead and release it. I feel like we're somewhere between, it sounded like instructions to me, that phase versus the end of it, which would be them deciding what to do. I don't know how far along we are in that decision-making process, but again, it would be faster is better than slow.
But saying the FBI should investigate the Epstein hoax is a little bit north of sort of like saying release something credible there. Maria, we have this new CNN poll out, which does show that Democrats are enthusiastic about the midterm elections, but it also has these favorable, unfavorable views of each party. And the Democratic view of the Democratic Party is 28% favorable, 54% unfavorable. That is an all-time low for the Democrats. I will note the Republicans are only at 33%, which is a low since January 6th, which was a pretty low point for the Republicans there. But why are the Democrats stuck at 28%, Maria?
Well, I think part of the problem is, John, that there is still a lot of disappointment and hangover over the fact that we lost the presidential election. But here's why I'm not so worried about that number. Because especially during a midterm, people don't vote for a party. They vote for a candidate. They vote for the person who they are looking at to say, what are you going to do for me? So it all depends on the candidates. And what I am hoping that the Democrats do, and I am actually seeing them do it because we actually are on a winning streak. We've been winning most of the special elections that have been done since the elections, and we have overperformed on the ones that we haven't won. So we are on a very good trajectory. It all is going to be about the candidate and how a candidate runs and how a candidate speaks to their own voters. And what I am seeing across the board is that Democrats, whether they run in very progressive areas or districts like in New York, or whether they run in more conservative, moderate places, They are talking to their voters about what their voters care about. And the number one issue that is really popping across the board, John, that I see Democrats really taking advantage of is this issue of affordability. Because the one thing that they are seeing is that Donald Trump has completely betrayed the American people, working class voters, middle class families who gave him their support and trusted him to bring down the cost of groceries, gas, and rent. He has done completely the opposite, taking away Medicaid, Medicare from them. And that is going to be a winning message for Democrats.
All
going
right,
into
Scott,
the
you have 20 seconds.
Well, how could you unpack every lie that was just told in the last 20 seconds? I will just point out your Democratic strategist this morning, my friend Maria, said the key to winning in the midterms is for Democrats to pretend that they're not in the Democratic Party. That ought to tell you everything you need to know about how their party's faring today.
Oh,
all right.
Come on, Scott.
Scott Jennings,
Don't
Maria
lie.
Cardona.
Come on, honey.
We will speak to you again both soon. You guys can take this off air. Thank you so much, Sarah.
All right, President Trump raising eyebrows this morning with a strange story. This one is about his uncle, a former professor at MIT who Trump claims taught Ted Kaczynski, who you all know as the Unabomber.
When I first heard about AI, it's not my thing, although my uncle was at MIT, one of the great professors, 51 years, whatever. He was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, 3 degrees in nuclear, chemical, and math. Kaczynski was one of his students. Do you know who Kaczynski was? There's very little difference between a madman and a genius. But Kaczynski, I said, what kind of a student was he, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump? He said, what kind of a student? And he said, seriously good. He said he'd go around correcting everybody, but it didn't work out too well for him.
He's saying this at the Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit. CNN's Daniel Dale is here to fact check this story. Daniel, fact or fiction?
It's fiction. This story is imaginary. It's made up. It's a lie. And frankly, Sarah, it didn't take too much research to figure that out. So how do we know this story could not even possibly be true? Well, first of all, the president's late uncle, the esteemed MIT professor John Trump, died in 1985. The Unabomber was not revealed to be Ted Kaczynski until 1996, the year he was arrested, more than a decade later. So there is frankly no reason why Donald Trump would be asking anyone about Ted Kaczynski in 1985 or earlier, when Ted Kaczynski was living this reclusive life in a Montana wilderness cabin. Number two, that's the case even if Kaczynski had been one of his uncle's students, which he wasn't. John Trump taught at MIT for decades. Kaczynski went to Harvard and the University of Michigan. I reached out to MIT about this. They said they have no record, no information suggesting that Kaczynski ever attended MIT. About this story. It's also not true that John Trump was the longest serving MIT professor ever. He was there for decades. He was a renowned guy, but the school says not the longest serving. And number two, his degrees were not in nuclear, chemical, and math. He did have 3 degrees. 2 were in electrical engineering. That's what he was a professor of. The other was in physics. So look, this I think is small potatoes compared to all the other stuff this president lies about on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, from the economy to the war in Ukraine to his record. But when the president of the United States is just flat making up a colorful story, I think it's important to point that out.